commuters across the country and back in the Niger Delta region, how impactful will it be? Myself and Jennifer Pius on this one. Jenny, good afternoon. Happy New Week to you.
Yes, it's a happy new week, and we see how this year has been running, and I don't know if it's planning to also run for any office.
But have you noticed that this is almost the fastest January?
Exactly.
In a very, what's today's date? 26th, and I mean,
we're counting down.
It looks like 2026 is not here to usher in any dull moments.
You know, it's always, a year before election year, we always hear of people running. So maybe the year is also running. So let's see how it pans out. Well, the federal government recently directed electricity distribution companies, discos, and meter installers to provide smart meters to consumers free and without charge, warning that officials found demanding payment will face prosecution. The Minister of Power, ADBN, issued the directive on Thursday during an inspection of newly imported smart meters at terminals at Papa Lagos. The meters procured under the World Bank-funded Distribution Sector Program, DISREP, are intended to improve billing and collections across the power sector. He explained that the program aims to import a total of about 3.4 million meters in 2 batches. He added that full metering would enhance transparency in billings, increase consumers' readiness to pay, and improve liquidity in the sector. Well, this is so much, especially looking at the fact that we've always heard of free metering, and yes, the electricity distribution companies always gets to tell us a different story, but this seems a bit more firm. However, our concerns is not on the federal government. It is on the compliance by the different distribution companies, especially with the epileptic power system. People have been looking forward to meters. And in fact, even in Uyo, there has been complaints about extortion when it comes to meters. You request for a meter, and it takes you almost like forever to get one. And when it finally comes, you're talking of different variation of prices. This is something that really, really should be looked into.
Jennifer, by the way, the fact that we had our first national grid collapse last Friday, and talking about the meters now, we've heard different laws around metering across the country, but now the Minister of Power now saying that we now have enough to go around, and they are going to be distributing this in phases, in batches, I think in 3 batches. And this is the first batch, and they've taken delivery of about 500,000, and that is supposed to be shared free of charge. If I'm borrowing his word, he said no kobo must be paid by any Nigerian. But this is where the dilemma sets in, because it is...
What is the assurance that when it is distributed free, that people will even get them?
At the installation stage, you still see people with their ladders, asking for this or that, for installations and all of that. But we actually tried to establish contact with the PHED to lay bare some of the allegations that have come in from Nigerians, even from Akwa Ibom indigents who are electricity consumers, claiming that they still get to pay for these free meters. Is it that the directive from the federal level does not also include Akwa Ibom citizens? And it will be interesting to know what is the practice in other states of the Niger Delta region. Are they getting these free meters at the free rate that the federal government has announced? Or is there some people using this for their different shady and monkey business?
The funniest part is that if you look at areas where they have, maybe they've gotten some meters, maybe a majority, they've gotten a number of meters in those areas, you'd see that those areas would have, they would try as much as possible to give them maybe about 40 to 50% in electricity. But go to areas without meters, they would go through a lot. And then there would be exorbitant amounts issued out monthly for them to pay for the bills. And now we see people apply for these meters every day, a number of time, yet they'll tell them it's not available. We don't have. That's for people who are not dropping the funds.
Now, let's even go to the figures. Now, the reports have it that we have about 5 million Nigerians who are operating on estimated billing. And it is, we can't help but wonder if the discos have anything in this by not distributing.
This is meant to help them.
And this is supposed to be a business.
For what you use, and if you think you want to steal off, you know, I see them drive their vans and they're like, report electricity theft. I'm like, save yourself the stress. Distribute meters and let's see who's going to steal.
Well, even yes, we know that there's still a dilemma. People who would still go the extra mile of ensuring that they are still able to steal. There's still incidences of electricity theft, even with the installation of prepaid meters. But I understand it would be much more reduced than what we are seeing currently. And it is important that the PHAD really step in and do something about this. I know we have some reactions, and Nigerians have been speaking regarding this free metering policy by the federal government, and this is from Ijoma Agostino. Says announcement is not the issue, not implementation. Some people's father, brother, uncle, mother, etc. will frustrate this and make sure that you bribe them before you get the meter, or they install the meter for you. Now, we did do ourselves well. That's not far, and it is really sad.
Okay, Kere Okun says, this meter has been free in Enugu. It is given free since 2021. So when did people start paying for this? Oh, that's for you. Oh, lucky incident. Coconut Head, okay. The meter is not free. It was given to people with debt on their bill. The meter money plus debt are all attached to it. When you buy 4K units, they will give you 2K units, and the remaining 2K will service your debt. Yeah, I can, and at least I complaints in that regard. I'm Idara Osongwe says, I was still asked to pay 170,000 naira plus installation few weeks ago. It doesn't make sense when federal government gives something free and citizens still end up paying for it. The money is going into people's pockets. Until some of these NEPA people, okay, are jailed, they won't stop.
NEPA still refuses to go away.
Exactly. The truth is, Vita, I'm sorry. Okay, so in this country called Nigeria, you think and believe I will just walk into any of these offices, request for meter, and they will give it to me? I wonder where and when that happens. These officials who are so corrupt, they will tell you there's no meter available. That's what we hear so many times, no meter available. Well then, let's just hope that these electricity distribution companies step in and try as much as possible to clear the air on these allegations and do what's right. Comply with the federal government's directive and ensure that people get meters, because this is supposed to help except there is something hidden that we are not aware of. But this is a clear strategy to help the electricity companies to make gain and to reduce the level of theft across.
Well, there have been allegations that, the discos seem to profit more if they operate on the estimated billing system. We don't know how far that's true, but that's the allegation that have been peddled around. And we're hoping that one of the officials will be ready or willing to speak to us and bring some clarity to what's truly happening, because there have been real-time complaints, and Nigerians are not.
I think that they don't even want to.
And it is important that we also put it out there that the federal government has said explicit terms that persons who refuse, the officials who refuse to abide to regulations would stand to be handed sanctions. They'll be penalized. There'll be penalizations for persons, discos, who refuse to hand these meters free of charge to persons or to citizens who are consumers. If they are not handing it out free of charge, the federal government has stated that it is going to ensure that a complaint desk is set up to ensure that Nigerians who have had to pay anything for the meters get the justice that they need, and persons who are found culpable are made to face the full weight. of the law. We'll take a break there and bring you Niger Delta updates for today. Stay tuned. First on Niger Delta updates today, the All Progressives Congress APC has concluded its ward congresses in Ahada East and Kana local government areas of Rivers State. The exercise was held to elect delegates for the party's upcoming primaries ahead of the February 21 House of Assembly by-elections into Ahada's Constituency 1 and Kana Constituency 2. The exercise was supervised by the party Congress and Primary Committee chaired by Shehu Dange, with Smart Ihianazo serving as Secretary for Ohada Constituency 1 and Oyala Peta as Chairman of the Congress for Kana Constituency 2. Members of the party's appeal committee visited all 6 wards within the constituency to monitor the conduct of the elections and ensure strict adherence to party guidelines, alongside INEC observers led by the Assistant Electoral Officer in charge of operations for the local government area of Kobule Emilia.
Committee, National Head of PCC, for delegate election for 2026 River State Assembly by-election for Ahoda 2 and Kana 2 constituencies. The committee to oversee the conduct of the delegate congress and the primary election in accordance with APC party guideline and relevant electoral laws. Also, an appeal committee is in place to receive and handle election petition in case there is any. There are 6 wards in Ahoda 2 and 8 wards in Kana 2 constituency. For each ward, after the Congress, 5 delegates will emerge, which translate to 30 delegates for Ahoda 2 and 40 delegates for Kana 2, making 70 delegates. Those delegates are to conclude the primary election for the State Assembly. Today, 25th January 2026, we handle and conclude the Delegate Congress. The primary election will be held tomorrow, as I said earlier.
President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to key development initiatives, including the completion of the ongoing Coastal Highway, tax reforms, and sustained collaboration with the Akwa Ibom State government to promote grassroots development. Represented by President of the Senate Godswill Akpabio at an endorsement rally organized by traditional rulers from Ikot-Ekpene Senatorial District, President Tinubu urged traditional rulers to mobilize their communities for the ongoing voter registration exercise, describing it as vital to democratic participation.
That the coastal road that it started in Lagos will pass through Akwa Ibom and end in Calabar. The President assures you that the tax reform that he has brought to Nigeria, some of the taxes were as far back as 1902, some 1939. He has brought all together. Today, Nigeria will make more money for the governor to do more work, and for the federal government to do more work, and for you to have more employment. The President is working very hard to also unify Nigeria, to make sure you can sleep well in the night. He's putting a lot of money in security. The President is working very hard to stabilize the Naira, to make sure that any money that you have has meaning for you. He will stand by the governors of Nigeria so that they will develop the subnationals while he handles the security of this nation at the center. Correct, Senatorial District. Traditional rulers, take the message back. Luckily, your wives are here. Let them know that all our children should go out for the e-registration that is going on right now with INEC. Let us go there and register. And those of you, over 100,000 PVCs are sitting, go there and your PVCs. So that will be your weapon to say, don't say I support Umano, I support Akwabio, I support Tinubu. If you don't have voters card, you cannot support. Let us also go out. For those of us who are politicians, we are doing e-registration in our political party, the APC. We want to show our strength. Because if you notice what is going on now, as we gather from place to place, we are not politicking, we are mobilizing our people.
I use this medium to appreciate the traditional rulers of ADBN senatorial districts. Our royal fathers, you have done well. This gesture is unprecedented and has never happened in any part of the country before.
The Department of State Services, DSS, has recorded another milestone in the fight against maritime crime with the arrest of 2 suspected sea pirates in Niger, Bayelsa State. The suspects were arrested on Saturday while finalizing plans to hijack a crude oil vessel in Guinea, an area that has remained a haven for pirate operations and kidnapping. Those arrested were and Divine Kelechi Unweze. Unweze is alleged to be the financier of the mission, while Tizara was the recruiter for additional gang members.
Away from that, the chairman of the governing board of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Mr. Chidi Webie, has expressed optimism that talents discovered at the Niger Delta Games will represent the country at international sporting events such as the Olympics, Commonwealth Games, and All Africa Games. Speaking during a strategic retreat organized by the consultants for the second Niger Delta Games, Dunamis Icon Limited in Benin City, Edo State, Webie endorsed the idea of holding sessions to review and project plans for successful games. And that's it.
Niger Delta today, thank you very much. We're done with Niger Delta updates and we're moving straight into the focus of the day right after this breather. So stay tuned.
On the go. ADBN is everywhere you are. Stay connected with us across social media and streaming platforms for exclusive news updates, captivating stories, and more. Join the ADBN community today via our various platforms. Anavo TV app, ADBN Channel 121, Niger TV app, ADBN TV, Linuxwell TV app. To get the latest news straight to your phone, join our WhatsApp TV channel. Just search for ADBN TV and hit the follow button. Turn on your notification to stay updated and never miss any part of the experience. Stay in the conversation with us across social media handles. On X at ADBN TV, Instagram at ADBN TV, Facebook ADBN TV, YouTube ADBN TV. Visiting our website on www.adbntv.com. Watch us live anytime, anywhere. ADBN TV, a part of you.
The overall function of the adequate representation of their constituents in state echoes the federation.
Of fuel subsidy, resources to critical sectors such as education and health. A call to unity and progress of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
NAS Unplugged is a program that will highlight topical issues from both chambers of the National Assembly, from bills, motions, and constituency projects.
Let's have it.
Catch the program on ADBN TV, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, as we bring you activities of the National Assembly as it affects the people.
During the flood disaster in Maiduguri and its environs.
For increase in the number of judges in the High Court Capital Territory, Abuja.
The High Service.
NAS Unplugged, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m.
Thanks for staying tuned. So we quickly dissect Shell's projected up to $20 billion investment in Nigeria's oil and gas sector, anchored around the Bonga Southwest Deepwater Project and other offshore opportunities. Now, officials say that this move shows renewed global investor confidence following recent policy reforms and targeted incentives from the federal government. But what does this mean for host communities in the Niger Delta, for jobs, for local industry, and for environmental stewardship? We'll explore this with our guest, of course, who joins us virtually. Senior energy consultant and analyst Dr. Wisdom Enang joins us on the program. Thank you very much for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Robert. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Niger Delta today.
Thank you very much.
Looking at this particular investment move by Shell and considering previous activities of Shell in the country, and then we're looking at also the host communities, how significant is this investment, especially when it comes to matters in the host communities and the welfare as well as other activities?
All right, thank you very much. I think before we talk about the significance of these particular investments in host communities, I'd like to highlight the sort of task or Herculean task that has led to the unlocking of such investment commitments. First and foremost, we need to understand that this commitment is coming at a time where Nigeria was facing the issue of divestments alongside the challenge of declining resources, as well as the issue of high cost of production, which meant that the regulators and the federal government needed to do a lot in terms of providing fiscal incentives to incentivize any sort of production whatsoever. And also the issue of the low cost of petroleum prices in terms of the feedstock. It's not at the highest point it typically is. And to see companies come in and have a renewed commitment, when there are jurisdictions like in Guyana and Papua New Guinea, where there's a lot of competition to the Nigerian market. Now, in terms of the resulting benefits in the host communities, without a doubt, we can be assured that there will be a lot of economic activities, there will be jobs, fabrication yards, there will be a lot of training of the local community in various aspects of engineering. Some of them will be sent for artisan skills training. And in fact, I think we're going to see a lot of reliance on some of the skill acquisition centers that we have been able to set up as a country being utilized. And also with the proliferation of local content driven by the Nigerian Local Content Monitoring Agency, we are going to be seeing a lot of things going in country. We're looking at about 60% of that done in country, and adding not only to the economic development of the country, but also to the industrial development of the country.
All right, Dr. Enang, let's talk about some of the aspects that the minister had highlighted regarding this particular effort. Now, talking about the investments in the sector that has been spearheaded by President Bola Tinubu, which has, of course, made it more attractive for investors who want to come into Nigeria. You think that this had a role to play in all of that? And then when you look at the track record of Shell in the country in the past couple of years, their investment record in local communities that are oil producing, you think that this is unprecedented, or it is just simply what they are supposed to do and what is part of their commitments while operating in the country?
Well, I mean, let's look at it from the standpoint of there has been that intentional drive from the presidency led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to attract investments. And I'll just let you know that that has come at the back end of understanding, yes, we do have regulatory stability and clarity provisioned by the Petroleum Industry Act, but we also have things like the need for us to continue to evolve our physical terms to make it more competitive so that we can attract the right investment, and that targeted terms has made that possible. Now, on the side of Shell, I think we have been able to put a workable solution that has attracted them. Primarily, the decision has been overwhelmingly from an economic standpoint, driven by the renewed physical terms, but also it has been driven by the fact that the Nigerian PIA did allow for them to have an easy entry, easy exit by investments, and so they felt they could reposition some of that investment into other areas. So it's not driven by, there's no entitlement from the host community there, but the host community is going to be benefiting from the physical environment that has very attractive terms, which has now made that Shell, that ultimately was headed for an exit from Nigeria, has made a U-turn to come down. And it is now left for how we implement the PIA to be able to ensure that the benefit should accrue naturally as a result of those projects are accrued without any hesitation to the community.
All right, Dr. Anna. Sorry, Johnny. You're looking about the fact that this development is as a result of the reforms that have been spearheaded in the system led by President Bola Tinubu. You think much of that is hinged on this?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, that it's driven commercially based on the reforms. The president understood the clarity from a governance perspective from the PIA, but we would need to adopt our physical terms to make at parity or that the best that is offered anywhere. But also understand that this is cognizant of the fact that we do have attractive, environments for investments in Guyana, Papua New Guinea, and even the U.S. Because the current president, Donald Trump, is someone that advocates more for petroleum energy. He doesn't. He's not the president that would say he's against petroleum energy, and more so, he's willing to do all he can to make sure that the price of oil is being gotten at about $50-something dollars per barrel, and that price is to make sure that the prices of the refined products ultimately is reduced, and the price of cost of the Americans. To understand the environment for which Nigeria has go down the Herculean kind of mountain to surmount all the odds and get us both stability from a physical and governance standpoint, but very sweetened and highly competitive terms, more than any other neighbor that we have in the West African corridor.
Well, Dr. Wisdom, now we also understand that there has been reviews about the Shell company and their activities in the country, and so with such an investment, people are a bit worried concerning if this will be effectively and efficiently seen through without it having some negative impact on the host communities.
All right, let's look at it broadly by dissecting the various points. The investment offer that has been put forward is clearly based on the physical terms. but there are still nuts and bolts of how that execution will be unbundled, that all stakeholders are carried along, both the fulfillment of aspects of the PIA, but more so to ensure that there is a longevity in the relation we have just begun, all the way through all the unlock the full $20 billion investments proposal. So to answer your question more directly, and that would depend on regulators then too, with the I said the regulators will need to make sure that the implementation does not come at the cost of host communities. All the provisions of PIA are enforced adequately, and also to ensure that there's a symbiotic relationship, synergy between the host community and the government as well as the investor.
As we begin to wind down the conversation, Dr. Ainang, it seems as though the backlash against Julari has died down. And if you could give some appraisal to the work he has been doing recently since he took over the helms of affairs, you think that it is commendable, or there are still areas you feel if he were to look into would profit better from the industry?
Well, I think he has, for the team, I like the team, not really Julari himself. There's a very strong team there. They've done fantastically well in trying to I think they're trying to really untie the challenges, sectoral challenges that we've been having that has spanned decades. It's not a walk in the park. It's not something that's going to be overnight. There are going to be a lot of friction as we begin to create the right environment for the Nigerian petroleum sector, both upstream and downstream, to thrive. They are putting forward the right body language. I just hope that they have the right cooperation from all the political offices that are involved, and the right independence in decision-making for them to make the right judgment call, purely based on technicals, purely based on economics, to make the right call of something that will benefit Nigeria, not only for today, but for the near future.
All right, Dr. Wisdom Ainang, Senior Energy Consultant and Analyst, thank you very much for speaking to us in Niger Delta today. Of course, Jenny, we'll take a breather, and when we return, our focus will turn to Akwa Ibom State. We're talking about the CNG initiative in mass transit that the state government announced. How impactful would this be to the Akwa Ibom people and the commuting public? Stay tuned.
Do you know what Gamalin 20 is? It is a dangerous chemical pesticide never meant for human consumption. Sadly, some fishermen illegally use Gamalin 20 to catch fish, poisoning not just the water, but the food on your plate. Here's how to spot fish caught with Gamalin 20. Fish that look unusually fresh but stiff. A strange chemical smell, sometimes like kerosene, when cooked. Pale or bleached gills, peeling scales, or sunken eyes. Eating such fish can cause nausea, vomiting, damage your liver and kidneys. In severe cases, it can lead to life-threatening health complications. Remember, using Gamalin 20 for fishing is a crime. It harms people, rivers, and marine life. Protect your health. Buy fish only from trusted sellers. Report suspicious fishing practices to the authorities. Together, let's keep our waters safe and our meals healthy.
The global business is never static. Watch the market report on ADBN TV for business information, latest happening business deals, government economic policies, stock, crude oil and commodity trading, financial upstick and downstick, and the world of organized private sector. The market report showing on ADBN TV 1 to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday. The market report bringing you up to speed in the business world.
for staying tuned. Well, the last lap of the conversation takes us to Akwa Ibom, where the state government has announced that April 2026, of course, the intrastate CNG-powered mass transit will officially roll out. And with this initiative, a lot of reaction regarding how the CNG mass transit terminal sited in the state would go as much as possible towards empowering the commuting public in the state. We understand that it will be incorporating fueling infrastructure, workshops, training schools, security, and commercial spaces. And this initiative is set to align with Nigeria's broader gas-led transition strategy and the federal government's push to reduce transport costs following fuel subsidy removal. But implementation matters, and outcomes also matter even more. You recall that during his speech, Governor announced this flagging off of construction work on the Ibom CNG mass transit at Tikodakbe in Uyo local government area, in an event where stakeholders in the state commended the initiative. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Gas, and also assured of the federal government's support in the area of creation of CNG stations. We'll bring a track up of what the governor said.
The immediate gains of the compressed natural gas mass transit terminal, when completed, have been ordained of the ease it will bring to commuters across the state. Already, the state government has procured 50 CNG buses expected to arrive in April this year, when the first phase of the scheme will commence. Governor Umar Eno, while performing the flag-off ceremony, reassured his administration's commitment to revitalizing the transport sector for optimum benefit to the populace.
There are luxurious CNG buses that will go to all the local government headquarters, to and fro. We are determined to ensure that elsewhere around this country and even outside the country, we'll do it here. People can now board our buses. You don't even have to pay cash. All you have to do is to buy your bus card.
The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, applauded Governor Eno for the foresight in introducing CNG mass transit in the state. He promised the federal government's partnership through the construction of CNG stations across the state.
Your Excellency, what you are doing is going into the agenda.
Well, that was Governor Omoyeno speaking on the initiative. Well, we'll look at the thinking, the execution, of course, expectations behind this initiative as much as possible. As we have joining us, Special Assistant to the Akwa Ibom State Governor on Electronic Media, Mr. Samuel Ayara. You're welcome on the program. Thank you for joining us.
You got that right today.
I had to.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Paez.
Looking at this CNG initiative, we've had discussions since the removal of fuel subsidy, and a number of states have had to make some complaints about the explosion cases and issues of that nature. And looking at Akwa Ibom swinging into CNG buses and how this is supposed to operate in the state, do you think this initiative will be effectively managed to avoid the talk of explosions in the state?
First off, you see, you quite would understand that for the initiative to have stayed this long and before being brought to limelight, the government, particularly the governor, is one person who is given to ensuring that things are not just done, but are done the right way. And then so you would see a shift from location to functionality to accessibility in the siting of the CNG terminal first off. And then you would see the deliberate intention of governments in partnering the federal government in line with the presidential initiative on CNG implementation. And then when you bring all of that together in one plate, you would just understand that, yes, the government understands the thing about safety, the government understands a thing about functionality, and of course accessibility. Let's stay on safety. You would see that where this terminal is to be sited, okay, let's begin with accessibility. Where this terminal is to be sited is right at the heart of the state capital, Obiofort, Ikore, Ekpe, or Fort communities. You see, and then you now see how now the strategic siting on the brinks of Ring Road 3, you see that virtually all parts of the state can be converged on that spot. From Oron, you hit the Ring Road 3, the Ring Road 3, and empty into that space. From Ibesikbo, Eket, and all of that, you still can connect all of that space. From Abak, you hit through Abak Road, pretty soon the Ring Road 3 extension would be completed. Work is actually going on there at a very appreciable pace. So you now see that from when people would simply connect that part of the city. And then, of course, from it, you drive straight down Idoro and then access Ring Road 3. So on accessibility, you just would understand that government understood why it just had to be there. And then what's more, when it comes to safety, you see, sometimes people would want to say you can't be too careful. Sometimes people would want to say you can't be too careful, but we are already seeing an administration that is committed to ensuring that we don't just provide compressed natural gas services to facilitate a scale down in cost of transportation. They're also looking at availability of gas. And then government is not backing down in its stride at ensuring that, oh, you just don't allow people in let's say in residential clusters begin to assemble what looks like pseudo gas plants. Government has been emphatic in ensuring that everything that is tailored along the idea of scaling up CNG operation is such that would minimize, if not completely take away, possibility of collateral damage. And of course, that is seen in how government is partnering the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources Gas. We saw the Minister of Petroleum Resources Gas, right at that flag off. And then this is get to give the citizenry that commitment, that conviction, that along the value chain, whatever is intended to make this functional, whatever is intended to make this initiative a safe one for Kwaiban people is considered. And of course, we've had issues about and how much of the fire assets, how much of the safety assets, public safety assets can the state can could be safely deployed to ensuring that along that corridor that safety is optimized. And then if that question ever comes, you just would understand that few meters away from that facility is the federal secretariat, where there is a federal fire agency. And of course, within that space, I am pretty sure that that facility won't just come up without firefighting equipment. And then you now look further, you see that it is not supposed to be an event where people are densely resident. Yeah, it's not supposed to be a densely residential area. So in government's decision, in government's choice of that location, all of that has been taken into cognizance. And of course, evacuation and access will not be so much be an issue when you look at where that project is sited. But trust me, it had to take this long for it to actually be flagged off, not for construction work to commence on the facility. So much is had actually begun on that facility before the ceremonial flag off. And then when you go around there, you just simply would know, yes, that this is built with safety in mind, this is built with access in mind, this is of course built with functionality in mind.
All right, Mr. Ayara, let's talk about the fact that this whole idea was the brainchild of the federal government, providing CNG as a means of cushioning the effects of the removal of fuel subsidy. Now, states of the Niger Delta region have taken steps towards domesticating this particular idea, now including Akwa Ibom State. And it is commendable that this is coming at this time, especially with commuters complaining of, you know, high fares and all of that. But then the question of how effective the CNG stations will be spread across the state to provide for easy access comes up. Are there plans of that nature, or this is the only hub that we're going to be having?
Well, apparently, you just would know that from whatever part of the state you wish to access the services of these CNG buses, you simply would know that it's not going to be an initiative, a transportation initiative that runs like the everyday tricycle we get to fly. So it's never going to be an idea, a transportation option that drops you at every pole. So government, in its wisdom, is through the Ministry of Transport, is strategically positioning what from, depending on what part of the state you're accessing it from. Government would have to look into where you can drop off. Government will have to look into where you can actually board these buses. Because the idea is, make no mistake about this, our public transportation culture has really been a terrible one. People don't think they should even take the first few steps out of their houses to even access the public transportation, the public transport option that suits their journey. People would rather want to think that right in the comfort of their homes, they should be evacuated from their homes. But again, this isn't an initiative that will work that way. Everywhere in the world we've understood, we understand that everywhere in the world, public transportation has strategic drop-off and pick-up points. So it's going to be an idea. It's going to be a part of this initiative where the citizenry must necessarily partner the government to understand what is convenient for them. Perhaps in each of the communities, there should be where a particular point that is convenient for people. So that way you don't get to think that for a mass transit transport system that you're going to drop at every pole. We get to hear things like, oh, drive at the next stop, and then that next stop could just be few poles away from where the last person stopped. It's not going to work that way. I've taken out time to have this discussion with the Commissioner for Transport, and he told me that there would be designated drop-off points across the different routes. And trust me, perhaps some of these drop-off points would mean you actually dropping before your street or before your house or immediately after your house and all of that. But whatever it is, I am sure it is an option people would love to embrace for its cost effectiveness and option reliability, and then of course safety.
Okay, the angle of sustainability is also concerning, because we talk of Ibom power plant where there's been complaint of a supply of gas, and now we're looking at the compressed natural gas. What is the assurance that this will be sustainable and there will be sufficient and regular supply of gas?
Well, Akwa Ibom State in Niger, one of the most expansive gas deposits, and then you can't just question sustainability without bending backwards to imagine what possibly kept government for almost 1 year on the drawing board in bringing in engendering effective implementation for this policy. When you bend backwards to reflect on that, you would recall that Governor Omono had at the initial point where the conversation around CNG mass transit initiative was bandied. Governor Omono had mentioned, and clearly so at that moment, that he was not going to to jump into an initiative that he hasn't sat on the table to consider sustainability. He at that point had mentioned that for Akwa Ibom to embrace the CNG initiative, that we needed to know how easy it's going to be for operators of the CNG program to be able to access gas and gas supply. So if we have seen it at this time, it's then cool to defer to the fact that, of course, we couldn't have it then, but if we are having it now, it then means that Governor Mono has sat back to look at how this is going to be easy and how sustainable it would be. Make no mistake, the issue with Ibom power plant, there's never been a time access to gas is the problem. Access to gas has never been the issue with Ibom Power Plant. We have enormous gas deposits here. Ibom Power Plant has its peculiar issue, and then when you look at the Nigerian electricity value chain, you quite would understand that it is as problematic as it has always been, and then Ibom Power Plant is not an exclusive case. It's included in the mix, in the whole mix. And then perhaps what could be the issues with Ibom Power Plant could be supply of gas, not availability of gas. There is gas in enormous quantity in Akwa Ibom.
I'm going to ask you a two-pronged question, and one from the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Gas, who pledged to the federal government's support. We're talking about CNG stations across the state, and also the criticisms that have come in channeled towards your principal regarding the issue of groundbreaking ceremonies and all of that, the fanfare and all of that. The PDP is of the opinion that we should see more projects that have been concluded and actually launched instead of the groundbreaking ceremonies. How do you respond to these two questions?
Well, I'll begin with that of the People's Democratic Party, because you see, sometimes you want to imagine how long ago did we even part ways, that you're beginning to imagine that things that used to be have suddenly in your eyes become so so unusual. And you see, the truth is, for me, that their claim that government is flagging off too many projects, for me, is an endorsement of the government's commitment to deepening infrastructure. It means if government is flagging projects, that's PDP actually agreeing that yes, Akwa State government is doing too many of these infrastructures. And then make no mistake about it, Governor Mano is big on inclusion. So government is not just going to mobilize to a community and begin a particular project with telling people of the state, people in the value chain of that construction, that look, we've started this. And that's what flag off is all about. And in recent, again, Robert, you would realize that Akwa Ibom State government is not flagging off projects at ground zero. They are only always moving into sites for the symbolic flag off after the project had commenced. For example, a project like the Ibom International Hospital hasn't yet been flagged off, but work is going on that site. A project like the legacy iconic building for Akwa Ibom operation hasn't yet been officially flagged off, but work is advancing on those fronts. Begin to see a handful of this kind of projects that dot the land, our socio-economic space. So much is happening for the right reason. And so if the PDP says Governor Mono is flagging off too many projects, it's an indication that they have acknowledged, and clearly so too, that Governor Mono is doing too many projects in Akwa Ibom State.
Your concern is that the flag off should be commensurate with the completions.
And then we're seeing too many of those completions in like measures. We're seeing too many of completions in like measures. We're seeing the governor isn't just flagging off. We're seeing an administration that is also not even having enough time to commission dipped his hands into. If Governor might not take out one week to say, okay, I want to do 50 projects, I trust you, he would exceed, he would commission all of that and still would be left with so much to still commission. But I mean, if they say government...
You have 20 seconds to respond to the second program.
Okay, yeah. We've seen the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Gas, repeatedly come through in the partnership between Akwa State government and the federal government, and I trust that on that table they would consider sustainability, on that table they would consider practicability and of course functionality. And trust me, we are beginning to see a number of these gas projects spring up in different parts of the state, and this would add to the bigger picture of ensuring availability of gas resources.
Let's listen to the Governor of Akwa State and Electronic Media, Mr. Samuel Ayara. Thank you very much for speaking to us on Niger Delta today.
The pleasure as always is mine. Thank you, Jennifer.
So that's the size of the program today. My name is Savvy Robert. To have a terrific Monday.
And I am Jennifer Pius. Have a great day.